I stared at my phone, my hands trembling so violently that the screen blurred in front of my eyes. The message from the unknown number glowed ominously in the darkness of my Clearwater apartment. They found you. Get out now. Back door. You have 2 minutes. My heart slammed against my ribcage as I heard footsteps in the hallway outside. Heavy. Deliberate. Professional. The kind of footsteps that don't belong to neighbors coming home from work. I grabbed the go bag my mother had somehow known I would need. Feeling the weight of a life I didn't understand, pressing down on my shoulders. 26 years of lies. 26 years of carefully constructed normalcy that had shattered in less than 72 hours. The doorknob turned slowly. Deliberately. Someone was picking the lock. But before I tell you how I ended up here, running for my life with a fake passport and a name that isn't mine, I need you to understand something. I need you to know that 3 days ago, I was just Chloe Vance, a graphic designer from Portland with student loans and a cat named Mochi. I thought my biggest problem was my parents' divorce. If you want to know how an ordinary life can explode into chaos in a single afternoon, if you've ever wondered what you'd do, if everything you believed about your family turned out to be a lie, then stay with me. Hit that like button. Subscribe for more stories about finding strength in the darkest moments. And drop a comment telling me what you would do in my situation. Because trust me, you're going to want to hear this. Let me take you back to where it all began. 3 days ago, Portland, Oregon. A law office that smelled like old coffee and broken promises. I sat in the corner of Attorney Morrison's office, watching my parents sign divorce papers with the kind of mechanical precision people use when they're trying not to feel anything. My mother's hand didn't shake. My father didn't look up. There was no crying. No arguing. No last-minute reconciliation, like in the movies. Just the scratch of pen on paper and the sound of my world ending. I had expected explanations. I had prepared myself for tears. For accusations. For the messy unraveling of a 28-year marriage. What I got instead was silence. Cold. Suffocating silence that pressed against my chest like a physical weight. Outside, Portland's autumn rain pelted against the windows, each drop a tiny explosion of sound that filled the spaces where words should have been. I watched my parents, really looked at them, and saw strangers. My mother, Sarah, had always been the steady one. The soccer mom who never missed a game, who baked cookies for every school event, who knew exactly how I liked my coffee, even though I changed my order monthly. But the woman sitting across from me now looked hollowed out, her eyes darting to the door every few seconds, like she expected someone to burst through it. My father, Marcus, the man who taught me to ride a bike and helped me with my math homework, sat rigid in his chair. His jaw was clenched so tight I could see the muscle jumping beneath his skin. He had been an accountant my entire life. Boring, predictable, safe. Yet something about his posture now reminded me of a soldier, waiting for incoming fire. The meeting ended. No one said goodbye. My father left first, his footsteps echoing in the hallway with a finality that made my chest ache. I started to follow him, to demand the explanation I deserved, but my mother's hand shot out and gripped my wrist with surprising strength. "Come with me," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Not here. We ended up at Rosewood Cafe, the same place we had celebrated my college graduation, my first job offer. Every milestone that mattered. The irony wasn't lost on me. The barista knew us, smiled and waved. Everything looked normal. Everything felt like a nightmare. My mother ordered 2 coffees we wouldn't drink and led me to the corner booth, the one we always sat in when we needed to talk. Except we never talked like this. She kept looking over her shoulder, her fingers drumming an anxious rhythm on the table. Then she reached into her purse and pulled out a manila envelope, old and worn at the edges, like she had been carrying it for years. "Chloe," she said, and I had never heard my name spoken with such weight. "Zugriff. You need to listen very carefully to what I'm about to tell you. Don't open this here. Go home right now and pack a bag. You have 24 hours. I stared at her, my brain struggling to process words that made no sense. "Mom, what are you talking about? 24 hours for what?" She pushed the envelope across the table, her hands shaking now, that practiced composure cracking like ice in spring. Your father. He's not who you think he is. It's not safe anymore. The cafe suddenly felt too small. The air too thick. What do you mean not safe? Is he sick? Did something happen? She leaned forward. Her eyes locked on mine with an intensity that made my skin crawl. He's not the man you think he is. None of this is what you think. And I've spent your entire life trying to keep you away from the truth. But I can't anymore. They know about you now. Who knows about me? I demanded, my voice rising. Mom! You're scaring me. She grabbed both my hands, her grip almost painful. Good. You should be scared. This envelope contains everything you need. A new identity. Money. An address in Florida. When you leave here, you go straight home. You pack essentials only. You don't call anyone. You don't tell anyone where you're going. You become the person in that envelope, and Chloe Vance disappears. I jerked my hands away. Anger flooding through my confusion. This is insane. What kind of spy movie bullshit is this? You and Dad just got divorced. And now you're telling me to run away and change my identity. What did he do? What did you do? Something flickered across her face. Something that looked like guilt and terror mixed together. I did everything to protect you, she whispered. Everything. But protection comes with a price. And now that price is due. Her voice broke on the last word. Don't trust anyone. Chloe. Not even family. Especially not family. Before I could respond, before I could grab her arm and shake the truth out of her, she stood up. She pressed a kiss to my forehead, the way she used to when I was little and had nightmares. The gesture was so familiar, so normal, that for a second I almost believed this was just some elaborate misunderstanding. I love you, she said. More than you'll ever know. Now go. And Chloe, don't look back. She walked out of the cafe, leaving me alone with the envelope and a cold coffee I couldn't drink. My hands moved automatically, reaching for the envelope even though every instinct screamed at me to leave it unopened. To pretend this conversation never happened, and to go back to my apartment and wait for my mother to call and say it was all a terrible joke. But I knew it wasn't a joke. I had seen the fear in her eyes. The same fear I now felt crawling up my spine like ice water. I drove home in a daze. Portland's familiar streets suddenly looking foreign and threatening. Every car behind me felt like it was following too close. Every pedestrian on the corner seemed to be watching. I had never been paranoid before. Never been the type to see danger in shadows. But my mother's words had planted something dark and insidious in my mind. My apartment building looked exactly as I had left it that morning. The same cracked brick facade. The same withered flower pots. Mrs. Chen next door refused to throw away. The same graffiti on the corner mailbox that the landlord kept promising to remove. Normal. Everything was so achingly normal that I almost convinced myself I had imagined the entire conversation. I unlocked my door with shaking hands. Mochi meowed at me from his perch on the back of the couch, annoyed that I was late with his dinner. I fed him on autopilot, my eyes fixed on the envelope I had placed on the kitchen counter. It sat there like a bomb, innocuous and terrifying all at once. I poured myself a glass of wine I didn't want, sat down at the kitchen table, and opened it. The first thing I saw was a passport. United States of America. It read across the top in familiar letters. But the name underneath was wrong. Camilla Rossi. Born in Miami, Florida. The photo was mine. Taken recently, though I had no memory of posing for it. My mother must have somehow gotten it without my knowledge, planned this without my awareness. How long had she been preparing for this moment? Beneath the passport was a credit card in the same name. The plastic still stiff and unused. A driver's license. A social security card. An entire identity. Neatly packaged and ready to step into. And cash. So much cash. Hundreds. 50s. 20s. Bundled with rubber bands. I had never seen this much money in person before. At the bottom of the envelope was a key on a simple silver ring, attached to a piece of paper with an address written in my mother's precise handwriting. 1247 Sunset Drive, Clearwater, Florida, Unit 403. And beneath that, a letter. My dearest Chloe, it began, and I recognized the slight tremble in the handwriting that appeared whenever my mother was trying not to cry. If you're reading this, then the life we built for you is no longer safe. Your father is not the man you know. His real name is Marco Scarlatti, and he comes from a world we have spent your entire existence trying to keep you away from, lighter, a world of violence and blood and debts that can never truly be paid. I met your father when I was 22. He was trying to leave his family's business, trying to build something legitimate, something clean. We fell in love. We were naive enough to believe love could erase the past. When I got pregnant with you, we ran. We created new identities, new lives, new histories. Marcus became your father, the accountant. I became Sarah, the suburban mom. And you became our miracle, our chance to do something right. For 26 years, it worked. We thought we had escaped. We thought they would let us go. But in that world, Chloe, no one really leaves. Your father kept minimal contact, handled some financial consulting for his family. From a distance to buy our safety, it was supposed to be enough. It was supposed to protect you, but someone talked to the FBI. Someone in the family is cooperating. And now everyone is afraid. Afraid of who will talk next. Afraid of what secrets will spill. Afraid of going to prison. And when they get afraid, they get vicious. They send messages. They make examples. And the best way to send a message is through family. The divorce was staged to create legal distance. To make it look like we were separated, uninvolved with each other, hoping that would keep you safe. It didn't work. They know who you are. They know where you live. And they will use you to control your father. Or worse, to punish him. Use the identity I've given you. Go to the address in Florida immediately. I've had that apartment ready for 2 years. Just in case. Everything you need is there. Don't contact anyone from your old life. Not friends. Not coworkers. Not your father. Chloe Vance needs to disappear. I will find you when it's safe. I promise you that. But right now, the best gift I can give you is distance. Invisibility. A chance at the life we always wanted for you. Just under a different name. I know you're angry. I know you feel betrayed. You have every right to both those feelings. But please understand. Every lie we told was an act of love. Every secret we kept was meant to keep you safe. Your father is not a bad man. Chloe. He's a man who made mistakes when he was young and has been trying to outrun them ever since. Be Camilla Rossi. Live the life Chloe Vance was always meant to have. And know that whatever name you go by, you are loved more than words can express. Mom. I read the letter 3 times. Each pass, making it less real and more terrifying. My father wasn't my father. Or he was. But he was also someone named Marco Scarlatti. A name that sounded like it belonged in a mob movie. Not in the quiet suburban life I had always known. The man who taught me to ride a bike was apparently also the son of career criminals. The mother who packed my lunch and attended every school play had been living under a false identity for longer than I had been alive. Every memory I had was now suspect. Every moment of my childhood filtered through this new lens of deception. Were any of them real? Did my parents actually love each other? Or was that part of the performance too? Was I even supposed to exist? Or was I just collateral damage in their escape plan? I sat at that kitchen table until the sun set. The letter crumpled in my fist, trying to decide if I was brave enough or crazy enough to do what my mother asked. To become someone else, to walk away from Chloe Vance and everything she had been. My phone buzzed, making me jump. A text from an unknown number. Blocked caller ID. My stomach dropped. They found you. Get out now. Back door. You have 2 minutes. And that's when I heard it. The sound of a car engine idling too long outside my building. I went to the window, careful to stay behind the curtain, and looked down. A black sedan with tinted windows sat across the street. Exhaust, puffing in the cool evening air. No one got out. No one moved. They were just waiting. My phone buzzed again. Same unknown number. Now, adrenaline made my hands steady. I grabbed the go bag. I hadn't even realized I had started packing. Threw in the envelope with Camilla Rossi's identity. Scooped up a protesting mochi. And ran. Not through the front door. Not down the main stairs. But through the back, through the storage area that opened into the alley behind the building. The same route I used to sneak in and out as a teenager. The one my mother used to threaten to board up but never did. Now I knew why she never did. I made it to my car 3 blocks away. My breath coming in ragged gasps. Mochi yowling in his carrier. I drove without thinking. Just moving. Putting distance between myself and that black sedan. I made it to the airport by midnight. Left my car in long-term parking with the keys in the visor and a note asking someone to please take Mochi to the Oregon Humane Society. It broke my heart. But I couldn't take him where I was going. Wherever that was. I bought a ticket to Miami with cash. Using Chloe Vance's ID one last time. Then, in the airport bathroom, I bought black hair dye from the travel store and locked myself in a stall. I watched Chloe's blonde hair swirl down the drain and stared at Camilla's dark hair in the mirror. The woman looking back at me was a stranger. Which I guess was the point. By the time I boarded the plane, I was Camilla Rossi, graphic designer from Miami, relocating to Florida's Gulf Coast for a fresh start. The lies came easier than I expected. Maybe I was my parents' daughter after all. The flight to Miami was a blur of recycled air and engine noise. I couldn't sleep. Couldn't eat the stale pretzels the flight attendant offered. I just stared out the window at the darkness below, watching the occasional cluster of lights that marked cities and towns full of people living normal lives. Lives where their parents were who they said they were. Lives that made sense. From Miami, I rented a car under Camilla's name, marveling at how easily the fake identity worked. The credit card went through without a hitch. No one questioned my license. I was starting to understand just how much planning, how much money, how much preparation had gone into creating this escape route. My mother hadn't just thrown this together in a panic. This had been years in the making. Clearwater was a 3-hour drive from Miami, and I made it in 2.5, my foot heavy on the gas. My eyes constantly checking the rearview mirror for black sedans that probably weren't there. The sun was rising by the time I found 1247 Sunset Drive, a modest apartment complex near the beach that looked like 1,000 other Florida buildings. Palm trees swayed in the morning breeze. Retirees walked small dogs. Everything aggressively normal. Unit 403 was on the 4th floor, facing the parking lot. I unlocked the door with shaking hands. I'm not sure what I would find inside. What I found was a fully furnished apartment that looked like I had decorated it myself. My favorite throw pillows on the couch. The exact brand of coffee I always bought in the cupboard. Books I loved on the shelves. My mother had even replicated the art prints I had in my Portland apartment. It was like stepping into an alternate reality where I had always been Camilla Rossi, graphic designer from Miami, where Chloe Vance had never existed. The attention to detail was horrifying. How long had my mother been preparing this place? How many times had she come here? Arranging and rearranging, making sure everything was perfect for the daughter who might someday need to disappear. I found the safe behind a landscape painting in the bedroom. Hidden, but not too hidden. Like my mother knew I would look for it. Inside was more cash. Easily $20,000. And another note. Shorter this time. You're safe here. Don't contact anyone. I'll find you. I love you. Mom. I spent the first day in that apartment lying on the bed, staring at the ceiling, trying to process everything. My phone. My real phone with Chloe's number. Sat on the nightstand. I wanted to call my best friend Jessica. I wanted to hear a familiar voice. I wanted to anchor myself to the life I had left behind. But my mother's warning echoed in my head. Don't trust anyone. Not even family. By the second day, I started to go stir crazy. I ventured out to the grocery store, wearing the oversized sunglasses Camilla would wear, walking with the confidence Camilla would have. It was like playing a character in a movie. Except the stakes were my life. By the third day, I almost believed I could do this. I could be Camilla. I could start over. I could leave Chloe Vance behind like a snake shedding old skin. And then I heard voices outside my door. Unit 403. Amal voice said, low and professional. This is definitely the address. My blood turned to ice. I moved silently to the door, looked through the peephole, and saw 2 men in suits standing in the hallway. They didn't look like building management. They looked like the kind of men my father's family might send to deliver messages. My phone buzzed. That same unknown number that had saved my life in Portland East parking lot. Green Honda. Keys under driver's seat. Go now. I didn't think. Thinking would have paralyzed me. I grabbed the emergency bag I had kept packed by the door, exactly the way my mother had trained me without me realizing she was training me, and ran for the balcony. There was a fire escape, metal and rusted but sturdy. I climbed down 4 floors, my hands slipping on the rungs, my heart hammering so hard I thought it might explode. The green Honda was exactly where the text said it would be. The keys were under the driver's seat. I started the engine and drove, not knowing where I was going, just knowing I couldn't stay. I ended up at a small marina on the edge of Clearwater, parked among the boats and the charter fishing companies, trying to catch my breath and figure out what the hell I was supposed to do next. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold my phone. I had no one to call, nowhere to go, no idea who was helping me or why. And that's when I saw her. My mother stepped out from behind a bait shop, looking thinner and older than she had 3 days ago in Portland. She glanced around nervously before hurrying to my car and sliding into the passenger seat. "Chloe," she breathed, and pulled me into a hug so tight I could barely breathe. "Oh, thank God you're okay. Thank God." I pushed her away, anger overriding my relief. "What the hell is happening?" I hissed. "I've been running for 3 days. There were men at the apartment. Men in Portland. Who are they? What do they want?" She closed her eyes, and I saw tears leak from beneath her lids. "Your father," she said quietly. "He's not just connected to criminals. Chloe, he is one. Or was. Or tried not to be. It's complicated. Stop being cryptic." I snapped. "You owe me the truth. All of it," she nodded, wiping her eyes. "You're right. You deserve to know everything." She took a deep breath. "Your father's real name is Marco Scarlatti. His grandfather started a crime organization in Boston in the 1960s. Racketeering, loan sharking, labor union corruption. By the time Marco was born, it was a family empire. He grew up in that world. He was being groomed to take over the financial side." I stared at her, trying to reconcile the word criminal with the man who taught me long division. "My dad. The guy who does taxes for retired teachers. That was the cover," she said. "A legitimate business to explain his income and his skills, but he was always managing money for the family, hiding assets, laundering funds, keeping the books clean. He hated it. Chloe, he wanted out. But you don't just leave that life. So what? He's in the mob like a movie mobster." She flinched at the word. "It's not like the movies. There are no fancy suits in Italian restaurants. It's just people doing terrible things to other people and calling it business." Marco tried to keep his hands clean. I tried to stay on the financial side where there was less blood. But clean hands in a dirty business is still dirty. "Why now?" I demanded. "Why is this happening now if you've been safe for 26 years? Someone inside the family is cooperating with the FBI," she said. "A high-level member? The entire organization is on the edge of collapse. The FBI is preparing to make arrests, and everyone is panicking. When people in that world panic, they look for leverage. They look for pressure points. And you, Chloe, you're a pressure point. They want to use you to keep Marco quiet, to make sure he doesn't cut a deal of his own. So they want to kidnap me, kill me." My mother's face went pale. "The first? Probably. They need you alive to be useful. But once you're not useful anymore..." She couldn't finish the sentence. Rage and terror warred inside me. "You let me think we were a normal family. You let me believe Dad was boring and safe and normal. Every birthday party, every Christmas, every stupid Tuesday night dinner was a lie." "It wasn't a lie," she insisted. "Our love for you was never a lie. The life we gave you, the normal childhood, that was the most real thing we ever did. Everything else was just packaging. Packaging built on criminal money." I shot back. "Every meal I ate, every college class you paid for, that was bought with dirty money from hurting people." She flinched like I had slapped her. "You're right. You have every right to be angry. But what was I supposed to do? Let you grow up in that world, let you see what your father's family really was. We gave you distance. We gave you innocence. We gave you a chance to be someone better. By lying to me every day of my life. By protecting you. She corrected. There's a difference. We sat in that car in the marina parking lot. The smell of salt water and fish guts drifting through the open windows. While everything I thought I knew crumbled into dust, other families had normal problems. Cheating spouses and financial stress and disagreements about where to spend Thanksgiving? My family had federal investigations and death threats and fake identities. What happens now? I finally asked. Exhausted. She reached over and took my hand. We have options. The FBI has been watching the family for 2 years. They approached your father 6 months ago. Offered him protection in exchange for testimony. He refused because he didn't want to put us in danger. But now that the danger has found us anyway, he's reconsidering. Witness protection. Like moving to Nebraska and pretending to be corn farmers. She almost smiled. Something like that. The FBI can give us new identities. Real ones this time. With government backing. But we'd have to disappear completely. No contact with anyone from our old lives. Ever. That's not an option. I said flatly. That's prison with better marketing. The other option, she continued carefully, is you stay as Camilla Rossi. Permanently. You build a new life. Separate from us. Your father and I would go into witness protection. And you would be free. Clear. No target on your back, because you're not connected to us anymore. You mean abandon you both. I mean save yourself. She said. You didn't choose this life. Chloe. You don't owe us your future. Before I could respond, her phone buzzed. She glanced at it and her face went white. We need to move. Now. She pulled me from the car and half dragged me down the marina dock to where a small speedboat was tied up. She fumbled with the ropes, her hands shaking. And then we were on the water. The engine roaring to life. Spray soaking us both as we cut through the waves. Where are we going? I shouted over the noise. Somewhere safe. Somewhere they won't look. We ended up on a small island. Barely more than a sandbar with some scrub brush and a collapsed dock. My mother killed the engine, and we sat in the sudden silence. The only sound, the waves lapping against the hull. There's something else, she said quietly. The FBI wants to move on the family in 48 hours. They're going to arrest everyone, including your father, unless he cooperates. This is it. Chloe, this is the end of the Scarlatti family empire. And you have 48 hours to decide who you want to be when it's over. I stared at her. This woman who looked like my mother but spoke like a character in a crime novel. What do you want me to do? I want you to live, she said simply. Whatever that looks like for you. If it means cutting us out of your life, I understand. If it means coming with us into protection, we'll make room. But I want you to choose for yourself. Not for us. For the first time in your life, this gets to be your decision. We stayed on that island for hours. Talking and crying and trying to figure out who we were to each other when all the lies were stripped away. My mother told me stories about Marco. About the sweet boy who loved math and hated violence. Who thought he could escape his family's legacy through accounting and spreadsheets. She told me about their life on the run. Always looking over their shoulders. Always waiting for the knock on the door that finally came. And slowly, I began to understand. They weren't perfect. They had made terrible choices. But they had also loved me in the only way they knew how. With lies that were meant to protect and secrets that were meant to shield. It didn't make it okay. But it made it human. As the sun set, we motored back to the mainland. My mother had arranged for me to meet with an FBI agent, a Special Agent Martinez, who could explain my options more clearly than my mother's panic had allowed. We met in a safe house in Tampa, a nondescript ranch home that could have belonged to anyone. Agent Martinez was in her 40s. With kind eyes and the demeanor of someone who had seen too much to be shocked by anything, she laid it out clearly. My father was going to testify. The family would be arrested within the week. I could enter witness protection with my parents, receiving a new identity and relocation. Or I could remain as Camilla Rossi, completely separate from their case, free to build whatever life I wanted. What happens if I stay as Camilla? I asked. You're clear, Martinez said. Your existence as Chloe Vance will be scrubbed from public records as much as possible. As far as the Scarlatti family knows, Marco never had a daughter. You can live your life without looking over your shoulder? And my parents. would have to sever all contact with you, she said bluntly. No calls, no letters, no visits. It's the only way to keep you safe. So either I lose my identity, or I lose my parents. Those are the options. Martinez agreed. I'm sorry. I know neither one is good. I spent 3 days in that safe house, pacing and thinking and trying to figure out who I was without the lies that had defined me. My parents were there too, in a different part of the house, waiting for my decision, waiting to see if their daughter would choose them or choose herself. On the 4th day, I asked to see them. We sat in a sterile conference room with Martinez present, and I told them what I had decided. I want to be Camilla Rossi, I said, and watched my mother's face crumple. Not because I don't love you, but because Chloe Vance was never real. She was a character you created, a role I played without knowing I was playing it. And I need to find out who I actually am, without scripts or lies or protection. My father spoke for the first time since this all began. You're right, he said, his voice rough with emotion. You deserve that chance. You deserve to be real. We sat together for a while longer, memorizing each other's faces, saying goodbye, in the only way we could. My mother hugged me so tight I thought my ribs might crack. My father pressed a kiss to my forehead and whispered that he was proud of me, and then I walked out of that safe house as Camilla Rossi, leaving Chloe Vance behind forever. Martinez set me up in Austin, Texas, far from Portland and Florida and Boston and anywhere the Scarlatti family had influence. She helped me get a job at a refugee assistance nonprofit, using my graphic design skills to help people who, like me, I were starting over in a new place with new names and new histories. The work was hard but meaningful. I met people who had fled war zones and persecution, who had lost everything and were rebuilding from nothing. Their courage humbled me. Their resilience inspired me. Slowly, I stopped feeling like an imposter and started feeling like myself. 6 months in, I met Marcus at a volunteer orientation. He was a lawyer who did pro bono immigration work, all earnest energy and terrible jokes. We became friends, then more than friends. I told him my name was Camilla Rossi, that I had grown up in Miami, that my family and I were estranged, all true, in their own way. He never pushed for details I wasn't ready to give. He loved the person I was becoming, not the person I had been. And slowly, carefully, I learned to love her too. A year after I left the safe house, Martinez called. Your parents are safe, she said. The trials are over. The Scarlatti organization is dismantled. You're clear. Can I contact them? I asked. Even though I knew the answer. Not recommended, she said gently. But they wanted you to know they're proud of you. And they're happy. I cried after that call. Grieving parents who are alive, but might as well be dead to me. But I also felt lighter. Like I had finally set down a weight I had been carrying since that lawyer's office in Portland. Maybe even before that. Maybe my whole life. 2 years after becoming Camilla Rossi. I married Marcus in a small ceremony on the Austin Greenbelt. I wore a simple white dress and flowers in my hair. And when the officiant asked if anyone objected, I held my breath, half expecting my father to stand up and reveal himself. But no one objected. No one from my old life was there. Because no one from my old life existed anymore. And here's the thing I've learned. Identity isn't about the name on your birth certificate or the stories your parents told you. It's about the choices you make when everything else is stripped away. It's about who you are when no one is watching. When the lies fall away and you're left with just yourself. I'm not Chloe Vance anymore. I'm not the daughter of Marco Scarlatti. I'm Camilla Rossi, refugee advocate, wife, survivor. I'm the person I chose to be when I had to choose between comfort and truth, between family and freedom. Do I miss my parents every day? Do I wonder what they're doing, where they are? If they're happy constantly, but I also know that the best gift they ever gave me was the chance to walk away, to be someone other than the person they created for me to be. Sometimes I still look over my shoulder. Sometimes I see a black sedan and my heart races. But mostly, I live. I wake up next to a man who loves me. I go to work and help people build new lives. I come home and cook dinner and watch bad reality TV and do all the boring, normal things I used to take for granted. And you know what? It's enough. More than enough. It's real. So here's what I want you to take from my story. Your past doesn't have to define your future. The lies people told you, even with the best intentions, don't have to become your truth. You can choose to walk away from toxicity, even when it's wrapped in love. You can choose to become who you were always meant to be, instead of who someone else needed you to be. It's terrifying. It's lonely. It's the hardest thing you'll ever do. But on the other side of that, fear is freedom. On the other side of that, loneliness is authenticity. On the other side of that choice is you. Real and whole and yours. What would you do in my situation? Would you choose family or freedom? Would you walk away from everything you knew for a chance at something real? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if this story resonated with you, if you've ever had to choose between comfort and truth, hit that like button and subscribe for more stories about finding strength in impossible situations. Because here's the truth. Nobody tells you. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is start over. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is let go. Sometimes the only way to find yourself is to lose everything else first. I found myself in Austin, Texas. Ask Camila Rossi. Where will you find yours?